All right, today we are tackling a cinematic Everest. Seriously, it's a film that basically looks at our fast-paced, TikTok-scrolling world and throws down a gauntlet. It asks for the one thing we just don't seem to have anymore, our undivided attention for a really, really long time.
439 minutes. Just let that number sit there for a second. That's 7 hours and 19 minutes. We're talking about Béla Tarr's legendary 1994 film Sátántangó. I mean, you could basically watch the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy in that time. Or, fly from Paris to Dubai. It's such an intimidating, almost defiant length for a movie, and it immediately brings up the most obvious question, right?
I mean, seriously, why would anyone do this? Why would you dedicate an entire day to one movie? Especially a movie that's shot in this stark black and white, set in some dreary, rain-soaked, post-communist Hungarian village where, let's be honest, it looks like nothing happens for minutes at a time. So let's dive in. Because the answer is fascinating. It tells us something really fundamental, not just about Sátántangó, but about what movies can even do.
Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at this 7-hour challenge and the whole idea of slow cinema. Then, we'll dig into why this film is way more than just slow. After that, we'll get into the big debate. What does watching this stuff do to your brain? From there, we'll see how it can go from feeling alienating to transcendent. And we'll wrap it all up with this amazing idea called the prosaic sublime.
All right, so first up, what even is slow cinema? Well, it's not really about what it's missing, no car chases, no rapid-fire editing. It's all about what it cherishes. We're talking long, unbroken shots, stillness, the pure, unadulterated passage of time. Think of it like this. Most movies grab you by the shoulders and drag you along for a ride. Slow cinema, it just opens a door to this incredibly detailed world and says, hey, come on in. Stay a while. It wants you to notice things you'd normally miss. The way the light changes, the sound of wind, the actual feeling of time passing. Paul Schrader, the guy who wrote Taxi Driver, just nails it with his quote. He says this kind of filmmaking turns its back on what movies do best. And just think about that for a second. Most movies are engineered, right? They're designed to make us feel something, using close-ups, music, action, all to get us invested. Slow cinema? It does the exact opposite. It creates distance. The camera will just hang back, watching people from afar like they're just tiny figures in this huge, indifferent world. You're not meant to be right there with them, feeling what they feel. You're supposed to be a detached observer. And that right there, that's the key to the whole thing.
Okay, so enough with the theory. Let's get back to the film itself, Sátántangó. Because just calling this movie slow is like calling the ocean wet. It completely misses the point. There's an incredibly intricate, almost genius-level machine humming away just under the surface. Yeah, it's the heavyweight champ of slow cinema, for sure, but it's also so much more.
I mean, check this out. Sure, it's slow cinema. It has only about 150 shots in over 7 hours, which is just wild. But it's also a puzzle film. The timeline is all over the place. It's not chronological. It's a network narrative, too, following all these different villagers whose lives are crashing into each other. Plus, it's this incredibly faithful adaptation of a novel that everyone said was impossible to film. And get this, you could actually argue it's an action film. No, I'm serious. The plot is packed with sensational stuff. Scams, adultery, betrayal, violence. The whole 7 deadly sins are basically playing out in this one muddy village.
And this is where the structure gets so clever. The title, Sátántangó, means Satan's tango, and the whole movie is structured like the dance. It has 12 chapters. It takes 6 steps forward, and then it takes 6 steps back. So you're seeing the same events, the same moments, but from a totally different angle or with new information. And what this does to you as the viewer is it's profound. You get trapped. You're not just watching a story unfold anymore. You're caught in this hypnotic, repetitive dance, a dance of despair that feels like it's never going to end.
So this all leads to the million-dollar question, right? What is actually happening inside our heads when we sit through this? What is the point of watching a guy trudge through mud for 8 solid minutes? Well, film nerds and theorists have been debating this for years, and it really gets to the core of what makes slow cinema so powerful, and, for a lot of people, just so infuriating. And the debate really boils down to 2 big ideas, 2 opposing teams. On one side, you've got Team Realism. These guys argue that the long take is more true to life, right? It's how we actually see the world in one continuous stream, without edits. The goal is to suck you in. But on the other side, you've got Team Alienation. They argue the complete opposite, that these super long takes feel totally unnatural and they push you away, making you feel like a detached observer.
So, who's right? Is it supposed to pull you in or push you out? Well, let's really think about it, because when you dig in, that whole realism argument kind of falls apart pretty quickly. Take a static shot, right? Just a camera staring at something. That's not how we see. Our eyes are always moving, scanning. Staring blankly is weird. And the moving shots, they're even less human. Have you ever walked backwards perfectly smoothly for 5 minutes? Or glided sideways to keep up with a group of people? No way. The camera's gaze here isn't human at all. It's something else. It's ghostly, all-seeing, and yet deliberately inhuman.
And there's actually a fancy German word for this, the Verfremdungs effect. Don't worry about the pronunciation, it just means the alienation effect. It comes from this playwright, Bertolt Brecht, who wanted his audience to think, not just feel. He'd do things to remind them they were watching a play. And slow cinema does the same thing with the long take. It holds a shot for so long that it stops feeling normal. It makes something familiar feel totally strange. The goal isn't to bore you, it's to shake you up and force you to see things in a completely new light.
Okay, so if the whole point is to alienate us, to make us feel kind of weird and detached, why? What's the end game here? What's the purpose of all that discomfort? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. This is where slow cinema goes from being just a style to being a potential pathway to something, well, something much, much deeper.
So here's the roadmap, the psychological journey it's trying to take you on. First, the long take basically puts the plot on pause. You stop worrying about what happens next. That pause creates the alienation we talked about, that feeling of distance. But then comes the pivot. Once you're free from just following a story, your mind starts to wander. You start to notice things, the texture of mud, the sound of the rain. You're not just looking at the image anymore. You're starting to see through it. And that's when a simple, mundane shot can become a kind of portal, a portal to a meditative, maybe even spiritual experience.
The philosopher Gilles Deleuze had a great name for this. He called it the time image. Now, he said that pretty much all of mainstream cinema is made of movement images. You know, someone does something, someone else reacts, cause and effect. Punch, get punched back. The time image breaks that chain. It just gives you a pure moment of sight and sound that has nothing to do with the plot moving forward. A character just sits there. A landscape just is. And suddenly, you're not just reacting to the story anymore. You're forced to think, to feel, to grapple with time itself.
And this idea goes way back. Deleuze got a lot of this from an earlier philosopher, Henri Bergson. Bergson's whole thing was that our brains are basically survival machines. We see a chair, we think sit. We see fire, we think hot. It's all about practical reactions. But he said the whole point of art is to break that connection, to let you just look at the chair or the fire for what it is without needing to react. And if you can do that, you can move from the physical world, from matter, to the world of spirit. That is the exact invitation slow cinema is giving us.
So, where does this all leave us? I mean, we've gone from a 7-hour runtime through inhuman cameras, German theater, French philosophy. Wow. It all comes together in this one last, really powerful idea that I think perfectly captures the soul of what Béla Tarr is doing. It's called the prosaic sublime. Prosaic just means ordinary, mundane, everyday stuff. And sublime is that feeling of awe, of something so big and beautiful it's almost scary. Put them together and you get the magic of these films. It's about finding something absolutely profound, something cosmic, in the grittiest, most overlooked details of existence. It's how a shot of a potato in a rundown shack can feel like a holy sacrament. It's how endless mud and rain can become beautiful because you see them as the actual fabric of the universe. And you don't have to take my word for it. Listen to the director himself. When Tarr says the shit is cosmical, he's not just talking about poverty and hunger. He's talking about the human condition, all of it. The struggle, the decay, the broken dreams, the little betrayals. He sees all of that as being part of this huge, universal, cosmic story. And by making us stare at it for hours, without looking away, he elevates it. He shows us the grandeur and the simple, brutal struggle to just keep going.
And this is so important. The goal is not to punish you. It's not about making you bored or miserable. The real point, the moral heart of this entire bleak world, is dignity. In a universe where there are no easy answers, where God is nowhere to be found, just the simple act of surviving, of holding on to whatever little piece of humanity you have left, that becomes a truly heroic act. It's a kind of salvation without God, a grace these people have to find for themselves.
And for the people who really connect with this, the experience is just immense. The legendary critic Susan Sontag said it was devastating and enthralling. and that she'd be happy to watch it every single year for the rest of her life. And that's because once you get on its wavelength, once you adjust to its rhythm, it stops being a test. It becomes this incredible, profound revelation. It's a place you can go back to over and over and see something new every single time.
And that brings us all the way back to the beginning. Why on earth would you watch a 7-hour movie? Well, maybe the answer is that today, it's an act of rebellion. It's a way to retrain your brain, to recalibrate your senses. In a world that is screaming at us to go faster, to scroll, to swipe to the next thing, maybe the most radical thing you can do is just stop, to sit, and to watch slowly. It makes you wonder, right? What would we actually see in movies and maybe in our own lives if we just gave them the time?